The scars of World War II weren't just left on the faces of cities or the hearts of soldiers. Some of the war's most haunting traces were hidden, buried beneath soil, sealed in forgotten bunkers, or tucked away in quiet corners of the world. Decades later, these secrets began to emerge, and each discovery peeled back another layer of the war's long shadow. In the summer of 1944, as Allied bombs rained down on the city of Arnham in the Netherlands, chaos broke out when one of those bombs struck a local bank. Amid the rubble and smoke, 4 German soldiers took advantage of the mayhem. Scattered in the streets were gold coins, expensive watches, diamonds, and jewelry. The soldiers gathered as much as they could, loading the treasures into ammunition boxes. Today, that treasure would be worth nearly $20 million. But as Allied forces advanced in 1945, the soldiers knew they had to hide the loot. They buried it near a poplar tree in the small village of Ameren, hoping to return one day. Fast forward to January 2023, when the Dutch National Archives released a hand-drawn map showing where the treasure had supposedly been hidden. The announcement sparked a frenzy of treasure hunters and historians alike. Yet despite multiple excavations over the decades, the fortune has never been found. Some now believe it may have already been secretly retrieved, another mystery swallowed by time. A year later, in April 1945, U.S. troops stumbled upon something truly extraordinary. Deep beneath the surface of Merkers, Germany, in a vast salt mine, they uncovered a hidden Nazi vault. It was a cavernous room carved out of rock, and inside was a fortune beyond imagination. More than 8,000 gold bars, boxes of bullion, mountains of gold coins, and countless personal items looted from Holocaust victims. Its total value at the time exceeded $238 million, which today would amount to over $2.5 billion. Generals Eisenhower and Patton themselves visited the site to witness the scale of the discovery. Knowing the Soviets were approaching, the Americans quickly organized a secret operation. 30 trucks, each guarded and loaded with 10 tons of treasure, transported the hoard to Frankfurt. It was a dramatic end to one of the Nazis' darkest operations, and a reminder of the cruelty that had tried to hide behind wealth. In Lithuania, another legacy of the war was being uncovered, not in gold or jewels, but in stone, tile, and memory. Beneath layers of rubble in Vilnius, archaeologists unearthed the remains of the Great Synagogue of Vilna. It had once stood as the spiritual heart of Lithuanian Jews, a grand structure dating back to the 17th century. The ruins revealed beautiful red, black, and white floral floor tiles, hidden women's quarters, and a Baroque-style prayer platform that had echoed with scripture for centuries. Nazi forces had torched the synagogue during their occupation, and Soviet authorities later erased the rest, building a school on the site. But now, little by little, it was returning to light, a monument to faith, resilience, and the silence that followed destruction. In 2014, near Arnhem once again, a team excavating an old bomb crater made a discovery that left aviation historians stunned. Buried beneath decades of earth lay the remains of a Messerschmitt Me-262, the first operational jet fighter in the world. The distinctive nose, with 4 gun ports, lay intact. Fragments of its engine, armored windshield, and even the wing structure were still recognizable. The aircraft may have been the very first model produced. Shot down during the war and hastily buried by retreating German forces, it had remained hidden for 70 years. For veterans and historians alike, the find was like a ghost from the skies, evidence of a war that reached further and faster than anyone could have imagined at the time. Not all war stories involve guns or planes. Some come in the smallest of forms. One man in England, while renovating his fireplace, found a small skeleton nestled in the chimney. Tied to its leg was a red capsule. Inside, a tiny coded message. The skeleton belonged to a World War II carrier pigeon known as 40 TW-194. It had likely flown from Nazi-occupied France during the chaos of the D-Day invasions, tasked with delivering its precious message to Bletchley Park, Britain's secret code-breaking headquarters. But somewhere in its flight, exhausted and likely disoriented, the bird had landed in the chimney, only to succumb to the smoke from a fire below. The message inside, still undecoded, remains a haunting reminder of the countless silent messengers that risked their lives. More than 250,000 pigeons were used during the war, many of whom never made it home. Back in 2013, a British farmer named David Cundall was on his own mission. He had spent 17 years chasing rumors of buried World War II Spitfires in Myanmar. Legend had it that up to 140 pristine fighter planes were buried in crates near Yangon to keep them from falling into Japanese hands. With help from the British government and even interest from Prime Minister David Cameron, Cundall's team began a major excavation. Hopes were high, but instead of aircraft, they found muddy water, old fencing, and disappointment. Experts eventually declared the legend false. Yet the search itself speaks to the enduring allure of the war's forgotten corners, proof that some people will move mountains, or in this case jungles, to touch history. One of the most remarkable inventions of the war was the Enigma machine, a cipher device used by the Nazis to send unbreakable codes. It looked like a typewriter, but behind its unassuming exterior, it held a secret weapon capable of scrambling messages into over 103 sextillion possible settings. It was a marvel of engineering, one of the keys to Nazi military communications. For years, Allied forces struggled to crack the Enigma codes, but in December 1932, Polish cryptanalysts made the first breakthrough. Later, at Bletchley Park in England, Alan Turing and his team exploited weaknesses in the machine's design to finally decipher messages. The intelligence they gathered helped shorten the war and may have even changed its outcome. It's hard to overstate the significance of this discovery, not just as a military triumph, but as one of the most profound intellectual battles of the 20th century. Then, there's the story of the Yeni Amber Room. A true wonder of the world, often called the Eighth Wonder. Originally crafted in the early 18th century, this room was a shimmering display of amber panels backed with gold leaf, jewels, and intricate carvings. It was a gift to Tsar Peter the Great of Russia. But during World War II, the Nazis, always seeking to seize the treasures of the nations they conquered, stole the Amber Room from Catherine Palace in St. Petersburg. They tried to hide it behind wallpaper, but within 36 hours, it was dismantled and taken to Königsberg Castle. Then, just as quickly, it disappeared. The Amber Room vanished by the end of the war, and despite numerous attempts to find it, its fate remains one of history's greatest mysteries. Some believe it's hidden in a salt mine, others think it's lying at the bottom of a lake, and a few even speculate it was destroyed in the chaos of Allied bombings. Whatever the truth, the Amber Room's story is a symbol of the cultural devastation caused by the war, an entire piece of human history lost. Another fascinating discovery came in the depths of the Pacific Ocean. In 1998, oceanographer Dr. Robert Ballard, famous for finding the wreck of the Titanic, discovered the remains of the USS Yorktown, an American aircraft carrier that had been sunk during the Battle of Midway in 1942. Sitting 3 miles beneath the surface, the Yorktown was remarkably well preserved. Its paint, much of its equipment, and even its structure were still clearly visible. The ship had played a key role in halting the Japanese advance across the Pacific, earning 3 battle stars for its service. The wreck's discovery, standing upright on the ocean floor, was an emotional reminder of the bravery and sacrifice of those who served on it. The Yorktown's location and condition also highlighted the incredible power of modern technology in uncovering the remnants of history, buried under layers of time and salt water. One of the most daring and dangerous operations of the war was Operation Bernhard, a Nazi plan to flood the British economy with counterfeit banknotes. Between 1939 and 1945, 142 Jewish prisoners at Sachsenhausen concentration camp were forced to print millions of pounds worth of British currency. The operation was so well executed that even the Bank of England was forced to change its banknotes. But as with so many aspects of the war, the human cost was immense. The prisoners faced a cruel choice: work efficiently to finish the counterfeit money and hasten their own deaths, or risk execution for slowing down the process. Eventually, the forged bills were dumped into Lake Toplitz in Austria, where they've never been recovered. The story of Operation Bernhard is a testament to the horrors of war, but also to the brilliance of human ingenuity, even in the face of extreme adversity. In 2017, the history of the Nazis didn't stay confined to the old battlefields of Europe. In Argentina, federal police raided the home of a private collector in Becar, a suburb of Buenos Aires, and uncovered a hidden room. Behind a sliding bookcase, they found one of the largest collections of Nazi artifacts in the country's history. The trove included everything from busts of Adolf Hitler to swastika-adorned magnifying glasses, a Nazi eagle statue, and even indoctrination materials for children. The collection suggested that high-ranking Nazis had escaped to Argentina after the war and had brought their memorabilia with them. The artifacts were later examined by experts who determined that some of them were counterfeit or modified, but the collection still serves as a chilling reminder of the war's enduring legacy. Perhaps one of the most surreal discoveries of all came in Egypt's Sahara Desert in 2012. Polish oil workers, while digging in the desert, unearthed the astonishing remains of a Bot P-40 Kitty Hawk fighter plane that had been buried for over 70 years. The plane, which belonged to Flight Sergeant Dennis Copping of the RAF, was in remarkable condition, its instruments intact and even its ammunition still in the guns. The plane had crashed in 1942 after Copping was forced to land in the desert. The wreck was a perfect time capsule, a symbol of the pilots who fought on the front lines but who often faded into history. Copping, it's believed, survived the crash and tried to make it out of the desert, but the intense heat of the Sahara likely claimed his life before he could be rescued. The discovery of his plane was a poignant moment, an aviation equivalent of the tomb of Tutankhamun, reminding us that even in the harshest, most desolate corners of the world, the past can survive, waiting to be uncovered.